right. Welcome everyone back to the continued book tour, The Science of Getting Rich Special Universal Edition, brought to you by MYB Publishing. And we've got these guests that are coming in from all over the earth, around the globe. And we're so blessed and honored to have today another special guest on the other side of the world. And why are we here? Because of this phenomenal book that was written back in 1910 by Wallace D. Wattles. We've taken the time, the effort, and the energy to be able to bring this up to date, to be able to allow it to be universal, being attractive to both men, women, children, adults. Everybody can really get into this book and it's going to enhance their life. And we've asked different people to give us input on that have had experience with the book and that have had a lot of experience with success out there in their life. And so we're so honored to be able to have with us today Gagan Deep, all the way from Delhi, India. So welcome, Gagan, to our show. We've got a lot of folks that will be watching the broadcast of this. We're on multiple platforms. We are so glad to have you here. Thank you for spending this time with us, Gagan.
Thank you so very much, Jay. Honestly, it is an honor for me to be here with you today.
That's wonderful. So we got an opportunity to meet through social media. That's the power of what's going on right now. We met on Clubhouse, and I was so intrigued by your story, by what you've been able to do. India. There's so many people there, and now you're one of these people that are standing out, that are making the most out of every single opportunity. Can you let everybody know a little bit about your background and what you've been up to? Then we'll dig on into this book. Let's tell us about yourself.
Absolutely. So, as you already introduced me, my name is Gagandeep Kaur. I am born and brought up in Delhi, India. I am in corporate from last 7 years. Currently, I work as assistant manager in training and development department of UK-based leading insurance company. I am also a certified life coach and a TEDx speaker. So, talking about this book, my personal development journey started in 2019 when I read the book called The Secret, written by Rhonda Burns. So, I loved that book. I mean, it completely changed my perspective towards life. However, after reading that book as well, I did have a lot of questions and I needed something more. I was craving for more knowledge, which could bridge the gaps of knowledge that I had in my mind. Then in 2020, just after a month of COVID, when COVID hit all around the world, I was just going through social media and I saw an advertisement that there was a webinar called Science of Getting Rich by Bob Proctor. So I had this calling that I should go for it. So I signed up for that, and life has been different since then because all the questions that I had about that amazing book and how things work, what exactly is life, and how much powerful we are to create our own life, all those questions were answered when I read this book. It is a gem, and this is my favorite book. And I since then I've read it so many times. Whenever I feel low, I just open this book and read it, and my mindset, my vibration changes immediately.
Yeah, I mean, it's phenomenal, and so we've taken the time with MYB Publishing to update it and really take all the masculinity out of the book and make it appealing to both men and women. But before we get into that, let's talk about when you read the book for the first time. How long did it take you before you started reading to where you're like, this is off the charts, this is some other level? I mean, when did it hit you?
So when I reached to the fourth chapter, I was mind blown. It was a light bulb moment for me, especially, so when we talk about the book Secret, it talks a lot about universe. And if we talk about our religion, we talk about God. But a lot of the times we think of God as something separate than us. So when I read this statement in this book that there is a formless substance, that permeates, penetrates in the interspaces of the universe. I literally had goosebumps because I've been researching a lot about quantum physics. And as we all know, that at the basic level, we all are made up of atoms. But quantum physics says that the subatomic particles are coming out of nowhere. There is a void, there is space, which is giving birth to subatomic particles. So, that void, that space is this formless substance. And we have multiple names for it. Some may call it God, some may call it divine intelligence, some may call it supreme power, and whatnot. So, when I read about it, that every particle of me contains this powerful energy, that divine intelligence, that universe. So we are the universe. I was completely mind blown.
And it goes on to speak in the book about this one formless substance. And so Wallace D. Waddles, he pushes all the chips in on this, and he says it over. Did you notice that? And he says it
Yes.
over and over again. There's one substance. And I was like, wow, he's really hammering this home. And then it's kind of like what you said. You realize that if you accept that now that's in me, that's in you. That's in us. And we're all interconnected. So even though I'm here in Florida and you're in India, we're connected. And so this energy can continue to perpetuate out into the world. Now you've been able to speak on TEDx. So tell us a little bit about your experience with TEDx and how did you get to start becoming a TEDx speaker?
Oh, that's another story. So I would say I manifested my TEDx speech because in January 2020, I was journaling and I was writing everything that I would like to achieve. And I don't know how I wrote that one day I want to be a TEDx speaker. I never knew how it is going to happen. And I did not even question that. And I just wrote it because it was like a desire. And there is a statement in Science of Getting Rich. Desire is formless, taking output, requiring output. So I just wrote on my diary that I'm going to be a TEDx speaker one day. Then I completely forgot about it. Then last year, in the month of June, I received a message from a TEDx team that they wanted me to curate a talk for them. And I was so excited because I used this knowledge and I was able to manifest my TEDx speech. And then I created my speech on the topic called The Secret to Unconscious Competence. So that's my story about my TEDx speech.
Wow. So you put these principles into action. And you know what? They're powerful. You hear so much about the law of attraction, you hear about manifestation, but the exact steps of how to do it. That's why I love this book, uh, because this describes in specific detail how to have and access the law of attraction in your own personal life. How do you feel about us taking the time, the effort, and energy, Gagandeep? How do you feel about us going? We're going to remove all the masculine because I know when you read it, like most women, I always was thinking if I put myself in the shoes of a woman, and go all the way back to 1910 when they're saying when a man does this and if a man does this. Can you maybe kind of express to us, did you have to compartmentalize that and then knowing that we've been able to make this and be the first one that's done it? I mean, what's your feelings on
Okay, so originally the book was published in 1910, and the language in that book is quite men focused, focused on masculinity, right? So when I was reading that book, there was a barrier for me to understand it correctly because this is how our mind works. If the language is not inclusive, we are not able to relate to it perfectly. But when I heard about it that you guys are working on it and you've made it more inclusive, especially for us women, so I was so excited. And I will have to say this thing that you guys have done a fantastic job because diversity and inclusion, that is the talk of the town. And it is high time that we take our old content, which has such powerful knowledge, and make it more inclusive. And considering you are the first one to do it, You have done a brilliant job, and I'm very, very excited about it. And I really want every person on this planet to read this updated version of the book.
Oh man, I saw it because when I was reading it last year, I watched the interview with Rhonda Byrne on Conscious TV. And as she was explaining what happened to her, like in 2004, losing a parent, and then being having a child that was sick, and then having $2 million in debt with her business. And then she says her adult daughter gave her the book and said, "Mom, read this. It'll make you feel better." I mean, The Secret has blessed so many people around the world. But when she said, Gagandeep, when she said she read it in 90 minutes and it changed her life, I mean, how did you relate to that? I mean, what did that speak to you?
Oh my God, I mean, it was the same thing for me as well. And when I found out that the secret to the secret was this book, I was mind blown. I had no idea about it. When I realized that the secret was written based on this book, it was amazing. I mean, this is one book that everybody who is interested in personal development must read, because this book is the foundation of all other books that are there in the industry.
I tell you what, this right here, I'm going to go over to chapter 8 in our MYB version. By the way, you can grab this book. Everybody go over. You can hit the QR code, by the way. If you take your phones, everybody's watching this, and you just go to your smartphone and hit that QR code in the top right hand corner. It'll take you right to the site. Or you can also go to getsogr.com. We've got links on there globally to get you plugged in. And we found out today, Gaga, that we hit #1 international bestseller in certain countries already, and we just released it yesterday.
Oh,
It's
that's
starting.
amazing.
It's because of people like you that are spreading. But I want to read something from chapter 8. Then I want to get you, as a life coach, as a professional in helping people. I want to get your take on what this means. Chapter 8: thinking in the certain way. He says, turn back to chapter 6 and read again the story of the man who formed a mental image of his house, and you will get a fair idea of the initial step towards getting rich. You must form a clear and definite mental picture of what you want, and you cannot transmit an idea unless you have it yourself. That's why your story earlier relates so much to this particular verse. I mean, this particular chapter. But I want to read. I want to get your input on this. You must have it before you can give it. And many people fail to impress thinking substance because they have themselves only a vague and misty concept of the things that they want to do, to have, or to become. It is not enough that you should have a general desire for wealth to do good with. Everybody has that desire. It is not enough that you should have wished to travel, to see things, to live more. Everybody has those desires also. If you were going to send a wireless message to a friend, you would not send the letters of the alphabet in their order and let your friend construct the message for themselves. Nor would you take words that are random from the dictionary. You would send a coherent sentence, one which meant something. So when you want to try to impress your wants upon substance, remember that it must be done by a coherent statement. You must know what you want and be definite. What do you got to say about that, Gagandi? Because this is strong to me.
This is very, very powerful. What I feel is that a lot of people are not able to reach to the point where they want to, because they really don't know what do they want. This is the question that I like to ask people again and again. What do you really want? A lot of the people have a vague idea of what they want, but they don't have that clear picture. And because they don't have a clear picture, their subconscious mind is not able to take them to that final point. Because I feel the subconscious mind that we have is that navigation system, and we need to give it clear direction of where we want to go. So, having the clear picture of what we want is the very first step. And then there is a line in this book that we need to contemplate that image every single day. But a lot of the times, what I feel is when we think about manifestation, we just keep on obsessively think about what we really want and just think about it 24/7, and then cut our connection with the present moment. That is not a good idea as well. So having a clear picture is the first step, but then detaching ourselves with how, when, and just being fully present in the present, and taking every opportunity as the last opportunity and giving 100% is the key. Because if we are just obsessively thinking about the future, then we won't be able to reach there because we are not taking enough actions in the present that we should be. So that's what I want to say here.
How do you feel about when you read in the book? He says the only time that there is now. What that do for you? Just that simple set. The only time there is now. What that do for you?
Well, it is that simple, but we don't understand it. We don't understand it because we are identifying ourselves with our mind, and we don't realize our mind is like a recorder. It is either playing the recordings of the past or creating some anticipations of the future. And when we understand the fact that we are not our mind, then only we realize that there is so much power in the present moment, because we have to create that separation from our mind. When I learned about it, when I read this statement that the only time that we have is now, I realized the power that we are talking about is here and now, and this is the moment that should have our focus, not the past, not the future. Yes, it is something that we have to hold a picture of the future in our mind, but with detachment, because if we are too much obsessive about it, we are losing now and here and present, which is not a good idea.
I think the number one key to happiness is that statement. The only time we have is now. That helped me personally. Now, I mean, I've been walking in that every single day, keeping my mind focused on the only time I got is now. What does that do? It makes the time I spend with my son much more effective and powerful, with my wife, with my relationships. This time right now with you, that's the only thing I'm focused on. So when I do that, I don't have any time to worry, and that's powerful. Now I know you live, again, you said, in India, Delhi, India. One day I cannot wait to visit there and to be able to see that beautiful country. But if I'm not mistaken, there's like over 1 billion people in India. Is that correct?
Yes, I am not aware about the exact figures, but I think it is 1.2 billion, if I'm not wrong.
Gosh almighty. So think about the United States of America. For those of you that are in the USA, we got around 330 million. So India is like 4 times the size of people than the United States of America. So you're in Delhi. I mean, there's quite a few people there, isn't there?
Absolutely. Delhi is the capital of India, and we have a lot of people.
How many people? Do you know approximately how many people are in Delhi?
I wouldn't know that, sorry.
And it's going, I mean, but it's like very crowded. So you probably, with the country that big, like with all countries around the world, there are impoverished areas. There's people that are struggling, that are barely getting by, that are in poverty. And so it was very unique for me to read Wallace Waddle's take on poverty, because I was like, wow, what do we look at it? He says here, and I'm reading from the MYB version in chapter 9. He says, if you want to become rich, you must not make a study of poverty. Things are not brought into being by thinking about their opposites. Then he goes on to say, do not talk about poverty. Do not investigate poverty. Do not investigate or concern yourself with it. Never mind what its causes are. You have nothing to do with them. What concerns you is the cure. Do not spend your time. Now, this is, I can't wait to hear Deep's take on this because this is challenging. He says, do not spend your time in charitable work or charity movements. All charity only tends to perpetuate the wretchedness it aims to eradicate. I do not say that you should be hard hearted or unkind and refuse to hear the cry of need, but you must not try to eradicate poverty in any of the conventional ways. Put poverty behind you and put all that pertains to it behind you and make good. And then he says, get rich. That is the best way that you can help the poor. Gagandi, what is your take on this? These emphatic statements from Wallace Wattles. I'd love to hear your take.
These are very strong statements for sure, and I feel a lot of people wouldn't agree to that. But I believe in these statements because these statements are very, very powerful. For example, let's take an example of Mother Teresa. She always used to say that I am not anti war, but I am pro peace. So, wherever we put our energy, that tends to persist. And there is a quote as well: whatever we resist persists. If we are focusing on what we want to eradicate, we tend to give more energy to it. So we should just focus on what do we really want. If we want health, our focus should be on health. If we want to be rich, not just in materialistic way, richness in body, mind, and soul, as it is mentioned in this book, right? So our focus should be on that richness, right? So when Wallace D. Wattles mentioned that our focus shouldn't be on charity that much. I mean, we all should do charity. It's a very good way to help people. And if we have been given enough, we should be helping others. But we shouldn't think of eradicating poverty by just giving away our money. That's not going to help. If we give away our money, if all the rich people give away their money as well, I mean, we can only help poor people to just go by for another 2 days, 3 days, or a month, or
Right,
maybe 2 months or 6 months, right?
right.
But we must inspire people so they can be empowered enough, knowledgeable enough to come out of their own misery and wretchedness. Then only they can create the life that they desire, because we can't help somebody unless and until they are willing to create their own life the way they want to. So, the best thing we all can do is work on ourselves, work on our own personal development, and be our own best version, create the richness in our own life, and inspire others to do the same. Because if we can do it, they can too. It's our choice, and we all have that power to create our own life. So, it's the inspiration that we need to give to other people so they can create the life and come out of their misery.
Let's see if Wallace Waddles backs up Deep here. He goes on to say, you cannot help the poor in the least by knowing about these things, and the widespread knowledge of them does not tend at all to do away with poverty. What tends to do away with poverty is not getting the pictures of poverty into your mind, but getting the pictures of wealth into the minds of the poor. Just like Gagandeep said, inspire people. He's completely in agreement. I know that I've learned so much from that, and that's my focus now. Because we've done so many charitable causes and so many socially responsible things to be able to help. But the most powerful things that we've ever seen is when we've helped people be able to help take care of themselves. Like you said, these 2 or 3 days or a couple months or 6 months, that's not going to eradicate anything. It's just going to perpetuate it. I'd love to be able to get your take as we wrap up here. I want to get your take on when Wallace Waddle says the first step in the science of getting rich is to be able to think the way you want to think. What did you think when you heard that statement? Think the way you want to think. I can't wait to hear this. I can't wait to hear this from you.
Oh my God. This is so simple, and because it is so simple, we aren't able to get it. Everything boils down to our power to choose our thoughts. We are so much conditioned and we think we are slaves of our mind that we can't think the way we want to. Nobody wants to think about disease. Nobody wants to think about being poor. Nobody wants to think about being in misery. But when we don't realize that we have a choice to choose our thoughts, we are not able to tame our mind, because in Indian spirituality there is a statement which says our mind is the wildest animal or elephant that we have, and unless and until we learn to tame that elephant, we can't have a good life. So when we realize that we have a choice to choose our thoughts and our thoughts are creating our reality, our life starts to change, because our thoughts are leading to emotions, emotions are leading to feelings, feelings are putting out the vibration that we are on, and whatever vibration we are on is the similar things that we are attracting back from the universe. So choice, when we can think the way we want to, we can create the life we truly desire.
Yeah, man, I'm all in on that one. When I heard think the way I want to think, your natural reaction is, well, I am thinking. So like you take it personal, well, I am thinking. But what we don't really get is that the way you want to think? And so I love that Wallace Waddles, he breaks this down. He says over in chapter 1, whatever may be said in praise of poverty, the fact remains that it is not possible to live a really complete or successful life unless one is rich. Man, I mean, these statements that he says, you got to go, okay. And it's kind of like the plant. Imagine a plant that just says, "No, I only want to grow so high." So when he taught in the book that we can just relate our lives to general life and the growth of things, and to be able to express ourselves the most, that really helped me. What did that do for you? Got get deep about knowing that we can relate our lives to all living things and getting the fullest expression out. I'd love to get your take on that as we start to wind down here.
Right. So honestly, when I read that statement, I was a bit skeptical, because I was thinking that author is talking about materialistic things, having big home and a lot of different cars and whatnot. But when I understood this chapter very well, then I really, got to know what author is trying to say. Because he says we can only have a fulfilled, happy, content life when we have fuller expression in body, mind, and soul. And the way this world is designed is that we honestly need money for everything, right? If it is, let's say, about body, we need a good home, nice shelter, cozy shelter, good clothes to wear, good food to eat. We need money for that. For our mind, we need, intellectual companionship, as it is mentioned in the book. We need books to read. We need knowledge, and if you want good knowledge, you have to pay for it. You can't, go to school and colleges without having money. You need to pay hefty fees for that, right? And then when we talk about soul, we can help others, charitable work, all that is done when we have enough money. When we are able to look after ourselves and we have enough money, then we are able to do that charitable work. And there is also a statement in this book that no matter what position you are in your life, you need your money to fulfill the responsibilities that you have for your family, right? Because if you really love your family, you would, love to give them everything that they want, and for that you want money as well. So money is important, because that is the thing that will help us have fuller expression in body, mind, and soul. So when I completely understood it,
Yes.
then I was able to, put away all my doubts and thoughts that no, it's not just about materialistic things. It is about other things as well, because this is how the world is designed. So we need money for almost everything.
That's so true. And I think the expression of the book, the initial expression through the words, the science. You look on the screen there, it says the science of getting rich. And people hear the word rich, and almost every person, like yourself, like me, you start thinking homes, cars, all this stuff. Really, that's just like byproducts. It's who you become by getting rich the right way. So, what I believe, and tell me your thoughts on this, is getting rich the right way really is contained in this book. That just imagine if everybody obtained wealth through the ways of this book, what type of world would we have, Gagadi?
Oh, I so agree with that, Jay, because there's a statement in this book that you must have impression of increase. And what is the impression of increase? What you want for yourself, you must want that for others as well. So it is not about being rich and being selfish. It is about being rich in the most scientific way, which is to be the person that the author wants you to be. And when you become that person, you are thinking in a way that you just don't want success for yourself, you want it for others as well. You want to inspire others, you want to convey the impression of increase for others. And there is another thing: get rich by giving more in use value than the cash value you receive. So any business that we do, any job that we do, whatever money we are getting, we must give more in use value to others. So think about the science. I mean, it is so amazing. The character that you are going to develop while following these rules will make you a gem and people will love you.
Yeah, see the character. That's what this book is about. You know, we've got to do what we've got to do. And what we've got to do is we've got to live our purpose. And our purpose is only fulfilled. You can study this inside and out. Our purpose is only fulfilled when we become the most that we can become and impact others. And that's what I love about working with and being around people like yourself, Gagadi. I see it all over you. I feel it all the way across the world. This energetic connection. From the first time I heard you speak, I was like, this is a star. I didn't know anything about you. And I was like, I told my wife, I said, she's a star. Connect with her. You heard me on the clubhouse room that night. I said, hey, get with her because she understands. Are there any parting words that you would love to be able to share with our audience? Just give them that Goggin deep that I felt that night. Speak to that person that's on the edge. They've been stressed out with all this COVID stuff going on, the pandemic. Would you share with them that there is a better way from your heart? Love to hear from you.
Oh my God. I would just like to end it by saying no matter where you are, you have the power to create the life that you desire and deserve. It all boils down to the fact that you have a choice of your thoughts. You can choose your thoughts, create a mental image of what you really want. Get this book updated by Jay, read it, follow all the principles, and you will be surprised that in next 6 months or next 1 year, how your life has changed. You have a choice to choose your thoughts, and that is the biggest power ever. That's all I want to say.
Oh, you have the power to choose your thoughts, to think the way you want to think. Gagadeep, it's been such an honor and a pleasure to have you here with us. I know that everyone that's watching this live and the rebroadcast is so appreciative. You can feel it all over her, all the way from Delhi, India, where there's 10 million people in your city. But guess what? You're the star. And we love you. We appreciate you. Goodbye for now. Bye bye.
Thank you so much. Bye.